In the last class, we started off this chapter number 12, IT in Society. And the first topic that we did was electronic currency. We looked at 5 different types of electronic currencies, and we had a detailed discussion on them regarding what they are about, what are the benefits and drawbacks of using those currencies. The next topic that we are going to start today is data mining. You might have heard the term. It actually relates to, you can say, uh, a popular field of today, which is data science or data analytics. So it relates to basically that. I will go over what's written here. It's a very simplified way that it has been written in the book as well, but then I'll elaborate upon it a bit. So if you look at it, it says data mining is a form of data analysis. So, I was just talking about data analytics. So, analytics is related to, analyzing something or analyzing data. It is also a form of artificial intelligence. The process of data mining involves searching through and analyzing large sets of data to establish patterns and trends. This information can be used to help identify future trends that could be very valuable to a company. The large sets of data used are stored in data warehouses. So, if we look at this description, we do talk about this. I mean, I do talk about this with students as well in class, that businesses these days are cannot be imagined without the use of technology. All right, technology has become such an integral part of doing business these days that all sorts of you know cutting edge timely decisions that the business managers need to take, okay, they are heavily reliant upon use of computers for that. All right, of course, one benefit that we do know comes with use of computers is that computers make the whole thing fast, more efficient. But if you make use of techniques or strategies or methods that that are typically suited to business decision making or analyzing data that you are going to use in your business, or data which is involved or which is essential for decision making, if you get certain tools that help you not only gather that data, uh, authenticate its quality, but at the same time, if it allows you to refine or filter that data in such a way that makes it easy for you to take decisions. Okay, and then based on those decisions, you can plan your business strategies. Okay, so data mining helps you in that direction. Data science, data analytics will help you in that direction. ये जो डेटा माइनिंग होती है, this is a very large pool of data, a very large set of data that any business would first gather. The business would, of course, the people involved in the gathering of the data and the people involved who are supposed to study that data will then analyze it in different ways. I mean, first of all, once they gather it, they make sure that they gather the data which is required. Once they have gathered it, then they will ensure that the data is accurate, it is complete. Remember in A1, we were doing, when we were doing that topic on data processing and information, we discussed a topic that was about the quality of data or quality of information. And there were about 4 or 5 factors that we discussed which are essential to ensuring the quality of data. So you can assume that here as well, when the data is mined, when the data is gathered and collected, its quality has to be ensured and all those factors must be ticked. The very simple reason for that is that if in first place the data that you're going to work on or the data that you're going to later use for very important critical decision making, if it is faulty in first place, then of course it will have a great negative impact on your decision making. ठीक है ना? तो ये तो आपको करना है. उसके बाद होता क्या है, यहाँ पे आप देखोगे कि they have used this term. Let me highlight it. Artificial intelligence. Okay? So all these, this entire process of data mining and then leading up to analytics is about arranging the data, or I would say designing certain search conditions that would help the managers extract relevant data out of that very large pool of data that has been gathered. And then you can actually kind of model it as well. Model करने का मतलब, any idea what is data modeling or what is a data model? Yeah, but that would be related to bringing it in a form in which you need it, or in which you need to present it. मॉडल का मतलब ये होता है, या डेटा मॉडल का मतलब ये होता है कि you uh, you actually are able to process the data in different ways that would help you in predictions and forecasting. Okay. मॉडल बनाने का क्या मतलब होता है? अच्छा, मॉडल्स और भी बहुत सारी सिचुएशंस में बनते हैं. जैसे अगर आप किसी, there's this new model of car that needs to be launched. Okay, it will have to be tested. Usually, models are created for new things, okay, new inventions. You can create test models for existing products as well. But before they get into detailed production, you first create a prototype, okay, prototype of something, and then you first test it. तो एक तो मॉडल होता है जिसको हम कहते हैं फिजिकल मॉडल. जैसे आपने किसी गाड़ी का मॉडल बना दिया, you create a model of a bridge, and through simulation you test it on the computer. You create a model of maybe a building, and you have designed it in such a way that it is earthquake resistant. So you first test a certain model of that on the computer using simulation to see if it can withstand a certain kind of an impact of earthquake. Model का फायदा ये होता है कि it lets you test any real life scenario or situation without being in it in real life in a very scientific way. And once you have tested it, if it proves to be according to what you desire or what your requirement is, then you are very sure in your mind that if you go ahead on the same lines or on the same principles when it comes to making the actual thing, it will be successful. And the other way around as well, if during the modeling and testing stage, if you figure out that, well, there are discrepancies or there are issues that need to be addressed or rectified, then at least you did not waste any time in making the real thing, spending all the time and effort and energy and money on it, only to later find out that it wasn't successful. And you have to sort of redo a few things before it can be tested again. उसमें आपका बहुत ज़्यादा time, effort, energy ज़ाया हो रहा है. When you model on the computers, it doesn't, yes, it does take some time to create models, but it is far less compared to making, maybe creating a physical thing. Yeah. So, uh, and the other good thing is that data models on the computer are something that can be tested again and again. अच्छा, मैं इसको एक्चुअली आई हैव टू लिंक इट टू अ डेटा मॉडल. मैं पहले एक डिफरेंट मॉडल की बात कर रहा हूँ, यानी फिजिकल मॉडल की. जैसे फिजिकल मॉडल होता है उसी तरह डेटा मॉडल्स भी होते हैं. अब डेटा मॉडल्स क्या करते हैं? डेटा मॉडल्स ऑल्सो डू प्रिडिक्शंस, okay, but they do predictions on the data that you uh, present to the model, and these are usually based around mathematical calculations and logical decision making, the data models. All right. Up, let me bring you to the point when it comes to data modeling. Say, for instance, a business is planning its sales strategy for the coming year, and there are a number of factors that they need to consider. They have a certain figure in mind, in terms of where they would like their business to be a year from now, in terms of sales, in terms of growth. So they have a number of factors in mind that they need to be very, very sure about, or the way they would be going about those things in the coming year to ensure that those targets are achieved, or whatever plan you have is executed, if not 100%, at least close to 100%. So एक तरीका तो उसका ये है कि you do a hit and try. Okay, we can do this. I think if we do this or we do that, it will result in, us achieving this target or this goal. Now, that's a very vague way of doing it. In today's age of technology and awareness and everything, and you have so many scientific tools available. अगर आप उनके होते हुए आज अगर आप कहें कि जी अच्छा I can base my decisions on assumptions, that would not work out. You will not be able to survive, particularly if it backfires. All right. So you have in your decision making, in your planning, you need to be very, very scientific. Technology allows you to do that. Okay. अब इसमें आप क्या करेंगे? All this data that has been mined or gathered or collected. जब मैं कहूँ ना data that has been mined, इसका मतलब है data that has been collected or gathered and stored. Uh, all this data first has to relate to the business, and then what you'll do is, I think one of you or both of you have done ICT in O levels. Yeah, remember database queries, एक्सेस ओके एक्सेस के अंदर हम क्वेरीज जो डिजाइन करते हैं. व्हाट इज द पर्पस ऑफ अ क्वेरी? दैट ऑल द डेटा दैट देयर इज इन आवर डेटाबेस, if we want to search only some subset of that data, we have to put in a condition to do that. Okay, so we put in a certain condition based on our requirement in terms of what is it that we want to extract from the database, and then we design a query on that, putting in the relevant conditions. Then when we run the query, out of all those hundreds of thousands of lakhs of records, maybe only that data will be filtered out that we need at in that scenario, in that situation. तो ये purpose होता है. यहाँ पे आप क्या करेंगे? All this data that has been mined, you will design, or these data managers, or you could say the business managers, will design, create models, data models with certain queries that would result in searching for the relevant data, that would help in taking decisions. Okay, or that would help in making them study or analyze as to whatever plan that they have, is it executable or not. So अब आप क्या करें? आप इस सब सिनेरियो को मॉडल करके देख रहे हैं कंप्यूटर के ऊपर यूजिंग सॉफ्टवेयर, using complex queries, and there is some sort of an artificial intelligence also working behind the scenes, where there are some very complex algorithms designed by programmers which will help you filter and gather the data that you really need to take a certain decision. You will not really have to worry about where that data is going to come from. These algorithms are going to gather all that data, okay, and assemble it in one point, and make you study it and then analyze or realize if the direction that you're trying to take, if that direction is the right one or not. तो यहाँ मॉडल करते हुए तो आपका ना आपके कोई पैसे नहीं लग रहे, आपकी कोई एज सच एनर्जी नहीं लग रही, आपका इतना टाइम वेस्ट नहीं हो रहा. कंप्यूटर्स कैन मॉडल tens of hundreds of scenarios very quickly. Hence, the whole idea here is this data analytics is about being able to process the data, refine it, filter it in such a way that you at the end of the day you come up with the most relevant data that is needed for accurate and timely decision making. And that is what is going to give a business a competitive edge over its competitors. Yeah, मैं आपको इसको relate करता हूँ एक simple सी example से. Have you experienced this, that when you are online these days and you are particularly on social media, or maybe when you visit certain websites, when you open up uh, pages or sources that are close to your interests. You would notice that that particular platform, the social media platform, starts to show you more posts or ads related to what you searched. So what is it that is there behind the scenes? Analytics, data analytics, which are noting down all those complex algorithms are noting down a customer's preferences, their interests, their buying pattern and behavior as well in a lot of cases. And then what happens is whenever that customer is online the next time and browsing, whether on social media or generally browsing on the internet, these algorithms are going to gather all sorts of data from around the networks, okay, and it is going to make sure that you are shown targeted posts, ads, information that they feel is is something that you would be searching for, or is something that is of your interest. तो फायदा फायदा क्या हो रहा है जब एक बिजनेस ये काम करेगा, तो एक्चुअली इट इज अट्रैक्टिंग मोर, आई वुड से, प्रोस्पेक्टिव कस्टमर्स. आप देखो कि एक बिजनेस का आपको नहीं पता था, आप सर्च कर रहे थे एंड अ पोस्ट पॉप्स अप दैट ग्रैब्स योर अटेंशन. You sort of start digging into it. And then it's a business that is just advertising its product. You did not know of that business. Probably you might not have known about it in the next 5 years. But based on your search history and your interests, okay, these algorithms gather that data and show it to you. Okay, lure you into it. आई वुड, ल्योरिंग की जो टर्म है वो थोड़ी शायद नेगेटिव सेंस में भी कही जाती है, बट इन अ पॉजिटिव वे आई वुड से ल्योर यू इनटू इट इन द सेंस दैट यू विल गेट इनटू इट टू लुक एट व्हाट इट इज अबाउट. तो आप उधर जाते हैं, देखते हैं, यू माइट लाइक अ प्रोडक्ट एंड यू माइट टेक अ डिसीजन टू बाय इट राइट अवे. क्या बिजनेस को फायदा हुआ? बिल्कुल हुआ. यू आर जस्ट वन पर्सन हु डिड दैट. हाउ अबाउट a sea of customers, that people who are on social media out there? तो कितने लोगों को वो इस तरह से अट्रैक्ट कर सकते हैं? ठीक है. सो ये तो हो गया ना कि हाउ पीपल, businesses actually try to target audience, but specific business organizations also use the strategy to mine the data and to do analytics on it, to and then model it यूजिंग सम सॉर्ट ऑफ आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, क्योंकि इसमें आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस इन्वॉल्व है. ये जज आपके इंटरेस्ट लेवल्स को देखना कि क्या है, और उसके अकॉर्डिंगली फिर आपको उस तरह की पोस्ट दिखाना. दिस रिक्वायर्स दैट काइंड ऑफ एन इंटेलिजेंट थिंकिंग, बिकॉज इट्स नॉट लाइक you got there by adding 2 plus 2. Okay, this I have to get here, so I first have to do this and then do that and then do that, and okay, then I'll get there. No, it's not that. आपने एक चीज की, all the rest was gathered around it, assembled and presented to you, yeah, by the software. Yeah, अच्छा जी. So this is what data mining is. Now data mining has a few, I would say, stages that this whole process, this whole research has to go through for it to be of any, I would say, uh, to make it more effective, I should say. So क्या process है जी? Stage one is business understanding. Now the first and the most important thing is, before you mine the data, is to understand what the business is. You know, understand what the business is, and then based on that, whatever data you gather has to be related to what you need. As it says here, there are three main elements to the business understanding stage: setting the objectives, developing the project, rather developing the project plan, and establishing a criteria for success. These are the key steps or stages, I would say, in, in the business understanding stage. So, before the data can be mined, means, gathered and collected, you need to have the business objective in mind. What is the objective of our business? What is it that we are involved with? Okay, so the data that we have to gather has to be according to that. Yeah, so the data has to match our business objectives. The understanding stage discovers the needs of the business. Okay, what are the real needs of the business, and in-depth analysis of those needs. Because you see, the data then later on has to be refined and filtered so that those needs could be met. Yeah, needs क्या है कि okay, uh, what is it that we want our business to achieve? Yeah, हम क्या करना चाहते हैं? So of course, all that needs to be very clearly understood and defined. So all the data that is gathered has to be around that. Okay, now another important point here is the data mining plan will involve developing queries to interrogate the data. This is something that we were just talking about a little while ago. That in order to model the data that you have gathered through the process of data mining, you need to design relevant queries that have the right, conditional statements put into them that would help you search or filter out the data that you need for further study and analysis. So when the process is started, this is the first step, knowing the business objective. The next thing is what a data understanding. Stage two is data understanding, where all the data that has been collected, okay, from whatever sources that are available. Of course, you have to reach out to the right resources to get hold of the data that you need. Once the data has been gathered, you need to ensure that you check the data for its integrity. अब integrity में वही सारे points आएंगे which we studied earlier on related to quality of information. That the data has to be accurate, it must be complete, it must be relevant, it must have the right level of detail. Okay, so all those factors will be used to ensure that the data has certain integrity. And of course, it points out to the same thing that we were discussing, really at the start, that it all starts with, gathering the right data for the purpose and then checking its integrity. Once all that has been established, at least you are sure that now whatever way you analyze this data would result in, I would say, outputs or results produced that are according to your specification without any errors. So once the data is established that it is viable or it is usable, it can be interrogated using queries that were developed in the business understanding stage. This interrogation will help the business understand whether the data is complete and will provide them with the desired outcome. So, queries were designed earlier that would help you filter out or refine the data. And then you actually apply it. After having validated the authenticity of data or integrity of data, you will use those queries to see if those queries produce the kind of results that you're looking for. Okay, and the results are in line with the business objective. After the data understanding stage comes in stage number three, which is data preparation. Okay, what is data preparation? Let me highlight the stage. Okay, now this is the most time consuming phase of data mining. And why is that? Well, at this stage, once you have validated the integrity of data, it still needs to be, you know, selected, क्योंकि डेटा आपके पास बहुत ज़्यादा है, आपके पास काफ़ी ज़्यादा डेटा है, उसमें से you need to select the right type of data that fits the business objective and that fits your business plan. You need a cleansing of it, यानी further filtering and refinement. All right, construction and formatting. Bring जो आप point बता रही थी शुरू में. This is the stage. The data preparation stage is the stage where, after having selected it, after having put it in line with the business plan and the business objective, doing further refinement on it, cleansing it, okay, you then bring it into a format in which you need to keep it or you need to present it, okay, in which it will be useful to you. Now once you do that, it has it has actually been converted into a form where it will become easy for the business to use that data to understand patterns and trends, or to establish patterns and trends from the data. This is where it highlights this point. So this can then allow for patterns and trends to be established in the data relating to the business needs. So all along, one thing that we are noticing here is that this entire activity revolves around the business objective and the business plan. Yeah. And going through the phases or the stages to make sure that you are bringing the data as closely as possible where it becomes in line with your business plan. Did you notice this figure here? Interesting how they are trying to visualize the mining of data. और साथ उन्होंने वो माइनर्स बनाए हुए हैं और वो जीरोस और वंस को यानी बाइनरी को डिक करके लेके आ रहे हैं और उसको असेंबल कर रहे हैं एक जगह पे. इंटरेस्टिंग वे ऑफ डिपिक्टिंग इट. अच्छा जी, नेक्स्ट इज डेटा मॉडलिंग. अच्छा जी, now once the data has been brought very close to, I would say, a form where it will help you in that entire business plan, forecasting, predicting, studying patterns and trends. You will actually model it on the computer. और मॉडल करने का क्या मतलब है, अब आपके पास वो जो सारा डेटा आ गया है, ऑल द डेटा दैट यू हैव streamlined according to your objectives, you can now design very, all those queries that have been designed, those queries can be then run onto the computers to see how they assemble and gather the data and present it to you. And whatever then data that you get as a result, how much is it in line with your business plan or strategy, and how close it is related to the kind of decision making that you need to do. All right. So that is what data modeling will involve. देखिए, it says here, this will allow the business to understand whether the models are suitable for the business needs and that the models fall in line with the business initiatives. So I think one point that we must talk about here is that despite this entire activity, I would not say that it is necessary that you will be successful in this entire process in first place. So when you take your data through all these stages, later on you may realize, after having modeled it and seeing the outcomes, you may realize that there are some discrepancies. That would mean that you just have to go back and look at the data again and see how it can be further refined to bring it more close to the line of action, okay, or to the business plan. So if that is needed, it is needed and it will be done. Because at the end of the day, the whole idea is to make sure that uh, whatever this data is, all the data that you have gathered, is helping you meet the objectives of the business. It is helping you in the decision making process, okay, and of course helping you to take your business on from day to day towards the goal that you have in mind. तो अगर आपको दोबारा भी कुछ करना पड़े तो इट इज ओके, बिकॉज ये जो सारी मॉडलिंग हो रही है ना, इसके साथ टेस्ट भी हो रहा है कि क्या ये डेटा और फाइंडिंग्स जो हैं वो हमारे बिजनेस ऑब्जेक्टिव के साथ इन लाइन है कि नहीं है. ऑलराइट, सो इट मे नीड फर्दर रिफाइनमेंट. सो इफ एट ऑल इट इज नीडेड टू बी डन, you can go back to one or two stages, refine it further, cleanse it further, and then come and test it again using the models. The next stage is evaluation. Stage 5 is evaluation. So of course, as the term implies, evaluation is where you evaluate something that you had planned and you had done. Okay? Time for evaluation. Evaluation is important to see if your findings are in line with your objective. Okay, so you evaluate the entire thing. Like it says here, the results generated by the models are evaluated. The outcome of this evaluation may produce new business needs depending on the patterns and trends. Yeah. So, based on this evaluation, you may come to a stage where you realize that, okay, these models are suggesting us certain patterns or certain trends that we did not account for earlier on, and now we have to embed those as well into our business plan, okay, to of course achieve the final goal or the target. Evaluation के बाद comes in the last stage, which is deployment. Stage 6 is deployment. The literal meaning for deployment will be when you put this entire thing in place in real life situation so that you can use it. Deployment का मतलब होता है ना installing or putting something in place so that now you can use it in a real life scenario or situation. So deployment normally involves creating a report and other visual material to present the findings of the data mining process to the stakeholders of the business. This information can then be used by the stakeholders to decide what actions the business will take next. So, of course, all the stakeholders have to be on board regarding the findings. So, you may present them with your findings in the form of a printed report that has the details of your findings. Maybe visual material. It could be presented in the form of a presentation to the stakeholders. to make them on board and to make them technically understand, whatever the findings are. इसमें देखें एक चीज़ ये भी होती है कि the stakeholders involved may not be tech savvy. They may not be specialists in this area of data analytics. Yeah. So you will have to present to them a report, okay, that describes the whole process, that whatever the findings were, and maybe if required in the form of a visual, a presentation, which can help uh, in describing the stakeholders the entire data mining process in a better way. Whatever the findings are. And lastly, it says that if the stakeholders feel that the results that they have been presented with are not really in line with what they were looking for, then they may request this entire data mining process to be repeated and further analyzed and refined, okay, to bring it more in line with their with their plan or whatever they have in mind. If they are satisfied, then of course the plan that has been the data that has been analyzed according to the plan, it can be used exactly the way it has been analyzed, for of course that business to take it on from there. Okay, now a very quick look at the uses. I will not get into the detail of the uses right now, but we can just have a look at the areas, all the areas where data mining is applicable. All right, so let's have a look at that. So, what are the uses of data mining? National security and surveillance is one area where you can use data mining. Actually, here you will get an idea of the diversity of the diversity of data mining in terms of all the areas, the applications where data mining can be effectively used to improve the thing, to improve the scenario. So surveillance, national security surveillance, business, of course. If there is one thing that we can relate mining and analytics the most, it is business. Research, healthcare is another area where data mining may be used. Predicting social and economic trends. And lastly, ethical and privacy implications of data mining. ये उसी से relate करेगा कि जहाँ पे people usually have issues with their personal data being gathered or mined for certain reasons or purposes uh, that they did not ask for themselves or that they are not aware of. यानी उनकी इजाज़त के बगैर, without their consent or without their knowing about it, so much of data is being, I would say, covertly uh, gathered about them and used for analysis and processing without you knowing about it. तो इस तरह की टेक्नोलॉजी के साथ हमेशा से कुछ ethical और privacy issues associated रहते हैं. So we will have a look at that as well, that what are those uh, ethical issues or ethical implications उसकी क्या है when it comes to use of this method. How would the society would react to it, or what would be the impact on the society in terms of ethics. Okay, any question so far? Anything you would like to uh, revisit or something?